It can feel at times as if everyone in the world is far too busy for a meaningful conversation, or simply too worried about what might happen if they actually did have one. It is my goal with the Mindful Image Project to offer a story with a photo, to give a voice to a face, and to show my appreciation for what I consider to be one of life's greatest gifts, the ability and freedom to simply say hello, and then follow that hello a bit further down the rabbit hole. With that in mind, I say to you, hello stranger, hello old friend, let's talk. Today we'll be talking with Arvin Louise Agtarap.
Close enough.
That's probably not how it's said. Do you want to actually say how it's said?
Arvin Louise Agtarap, if
Yeah,
you're pronouncing it Englishly.
Yeah, I wasn't even close on that one. Well, I mean, Arvin and I have actually known each other a very long time. Arvin is a fellow photographer, fellow writer, fellow musician, just fellow humanoid going through life, trying to do things the best he can like the rest of us. So I know a bit about him. I don't know everything, so hopefully I'll learn a few things throughout this podcast. So, let's get started from the ground up. So, first off, how old are you, Arvin?
I am 27, turning 28 this year, which is a little daunting for me, just because even in the group of friends that I have, who are all obviously in the same age group, I am the oldest. So I'm breaking that 30 barrier first in 2 years. So not really looking forward to that.
Would you consider me a friend?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I'm turning 39 next month, so.
Good enough. Thank you for doing that for me.
So you're okay. You got a while. I'm breaking 40 before you break 30, so.
Oh, yeah.
And you currently live?
In Calgary. I've lived here for the last decade and a half, I want to say, although I do have to do some math on that. Prior to that, I lived in Dubai, which is where I grew up, for 16 years. And I was born in the Philippines. Basically left the Philippines a month after I was born, if the stories are to be believed. So, yeah.
Nice. And you've enjoyed your time in Calgary, or?
Honestly, it's been a mixed bag, personally. Obviously, I mean, I can't really place myself in terms of where I technically grew up, quote unquote. Because, a lot of my formative years, especially elementary and going through, junior high, or what's called junior high here, I did in Dubai. But a lot of what I would consider to be a lot more formative, actually, which is high school and post-secondary, I mean, that has been in Calgary. So I do like Calgary, but I think that a lot of what Calgary has taught me is that I really need to get away from this place. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to get away from it because I have something to run away from or I hate it here. It's not that. Not at all. It's just, I think it's taught me that there's a lot more world out there to see.
I agree. It's a good, safe answer. So where do you call home then?
That's a tough one. Actually, I'm reminded of this story. Actually, it's when I went to the Philippines this past March, I think March. Before customs, you're supposed to choose a line, right, between Filipino passports or foreign passports.
Okay.
Now, I still consider myself a Filipino. I am a card-carrying Canadian. So legally speaking, I am. So I had to go to the foreign side of things. But, it kind of served to highlight the fact that I couldn't really call the Philippines home because really, the reality of it, I was never there. I never grew up there. I can't really consider Dubai home either, even though I grew up there for so many years of my life, because the Dubai that I know has been paved over by concrete, basically, and everything's kind of changed from there. Can I call Canada home? I mean, to an extent, yes, of course. I've lived here for just as long as I have in Dubai, so I could, but at the same time, I don't have the same growing up stories as a lot of people that have grown up in Canada have. So I like to think of myself as a man with no island, really. It's
that makes a lot of sense because I know you enough to know your love of travel. Mm-hmm. And I guess if home is where the heart is and your heart is currently set in Ireland, that might currently be your home is Ireland,
exactly,
right? And your home was in Europe for a few years back, right?
No, exactly. And I think and that's something I think I've discovered about myself, is that I call home wherever I am for the time being, and I like that about myself. I think there's a fluidity there that I think suits me a lot more than putting down roots in a specific place and saying this is where I belong, right?
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, man, and it suits you for sure. I mean, you're definitely the traveling type, so we'll get to that a bit into this. I'm sure some people will be interested in your plans of heading off to Ireland. So, but currently, what is your current job?
You know what? If we call it a job, the job right now, the 9 to 5, is basically working at a computer store here in Calgary. I don't really like calling that my job, though, to be honest, because that's not what I want to do. In the sense that it makes me money, sure, that's my daily, that's my job. But I think my real job is I call myself first and foremost a photographer. I call myself second as a journalist, because I do like to write, and I like to write about what it is that I experience. And I think those two things put together make up my job specifically.
Okay, so that is the dream, that's the pursuit, is this photography career which you've been building for a long time, and the focus is on travel.
Definitely, yeah.
Which is what your vlog's about.
Oh, definitely, and it's a project that I'm at this point actually four episodes in by the time that we finish today up.
Fantastic.
But it's something that I've always wanted to do, and it's something that I don't know. I guess I didn't really have very much motivation until now to get on and pursue as much as possible. So we'll see where this takes me.
Where can people see your blog, or your vlog, I should say?
My vlog is on YouTube right now. It's called Adventures with Arvin. If you Google that, if you search on YouTube for Adventures with Arvin, it should be the first account that comes up. So still trying to build up a following there, so it'll get there. There is also links on my website, which is arvinlouise.photography. You'll find all of my stuff there as well.
For anybody who's listening to this, you're going to hear a lot of crazy insanity going on in the background. I'm sure of it. We are actually in Calgary's Studio Bell right now. It is a hall of music. It is like 5 floors of just massive music. So anyway, that's what you're hearing in the background. None of the stuff's copyrighted, so don't demonetize this if you hear it. Okay, here's a good question for you. Who and what inspires you?
Oof.
We all know you're an artist and a photographer, so who and what inspires you to do those things? That's
a big question, to be honest. I don't think there's necessarily a who, because if we go through who, there's a long list of people. You got Joey Lawrence, you have Rembrandt, you have Coed and Cambria, you have all of these different artists from different facets of art, really, that inspire me to do what I like doing and what I want to be doing. But if it were, I don't think it's a who necessarily that inspires me. I think it's a what, that for me is very simply the feeling of it. If I'm in a place, even in a place like this, like Studio Bell, and I'm walking around, I'm seeing certain things, I want to be able to kind of show that to whoever views whatever facet of art I decide to put out for that. It's the same with music. I listen to a piece of music and I want to capture that, and I want to capture the way it makes me feel, and that's what I want to put out. Even when it comes to travel, that is 100% what I try to do, is being. Not everyone will have the opportunity to go up the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
Not everyone is going to have the opportunity to go up the Eiffel Tower and experience what I experienced and what I went through being so high up above Paris. So in some way, whether it be my photography or in that particular case, my writing, I want to push that out and show that. So in that case, it was great writers that inspired me to do that. It was Hemingway, it was Rowling, it was Gaiman that inspired me to show that side of what I experienced, right? But when it comes to other facets, there's a lot. There's a long list. Essentially, is the answer.
Is it safe to say you're inspired by life itself? Like, it seems like you seem to be. You're not no shortage of things to inspire you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and you see that everywhere, right? I mean, I think there's a certain arrogance to think that inspiration only comes from the greats, essentially.
Yes.
I think it comes from everywhere. You can get inspiration from from a pebble that you see on the floor. You can get inspiration from seeing a massive, testament to architecture like this.
True.
It's wherever you get it from, I guess. And that's different for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it always sounds good when you're pulling from the Hemingways, you're pulling from
Exactly.
the J.K. Rowlings. It's like,
Exactly.
oh, he's very diverse, but it is really the unknown artist. I find the same thing. I have so many friends who are in the arts, and they're not really known by anybody. You yourself, I am always been inspired by the work that you've put out, and
Thank you.
You continually push yourself to get better, and you're very passionate about what you do, and that inspires me, right? I'm sure one day everyone will know your name, but right now you're my secret inspiration. Not so secret anymore, I guess. So, is there a band, a book, and a movie that you think I should check out?
Ooh. That you should check out? Well, we both know the answer to that. That's
we know it's
immediate.
Coheed
We
and
know
Cambria.
it's Coheed and Cambria. And really, for anyone who's listening, that might be in search of some form of music that maybe they haven't heard of before, or they just want some inspiration from. I don't know. For me, that has always been Coheed and Cambria. I've always been a fan of concept albums myself. So bands like the Proto-Men, bands like Coheed and Cambria, I love it. There's always a story behind their songs. It's not just a standalone, here's the song, this is what it means. No, this is what it means in the grand scheme of this whole album, hell, in this whole universe. So I really like that. But even beyond that, Coheed and Cambria, to me, it's easy to pick apart their lyrics and apply things to yourself, with things that you're going through. At least I find.
Absolutely.
And it could be something extremely sad, of course, or it could be something extremely uplifting. Just before we actually headed out, I was listening to Two's My Favorite One from their Dissension album, and it
Fantastic album.
a fantastic album. But personally speaking, I think this is their best album. But just that is an unnaturally happy song for them, but it starts with that dialogue between the All-Mother and the Afterman, where the All-Mother questions him and goes, "Are you sure you want to go back to this? Are you sure you want to put yourself through that much pain? Because I don't understand that." The All-Mother is a computer, so she's not equipped to handle human rationale, is her wording. So she asks, "Is this what love is?" And the Afterman, after a really long pause, says, "Yes." And to me, it applied, because you know what? Honestly, I would have rather stayed home and fallen asleep again, to be honest. But
Yeah.
there's a sacrifice to going out and doing the vlog. There's a sacrifice to going out and doing this podcast, and I think that's worth it. That is what love is, and bands like this that get that absolutely inspire me, and I love that.
See, that's a great answer, because I feel the same way. I think far too many times people go through a difficult time in their life and then they just kind of shut down. And I think artists, the great power of art is that it pushes people out of those moments where they want to just stay home and sleep, and it pushes them to create stuff like your vlog today, or pushes me to create the things I create. A bad day, a bad emotion, turning that into something good is fantastic. And Coheed, as much as everyone likes to think that their stuff is straight, comic related, it's not. They weave absolute magic of real emotions and real thoughts and just real insights into their music, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So that takes care of the music. Now what about a book? What book should I be reading? And don't say Lord of the Rings, because I've read it, and I know you can do better.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't actually remember the author, so I'm going to look it up here really quick. But when I do this thing whenever I go and travel. I usually have a book with me. I usually
one book, like
just
one specific book.
One book that I pick at random, really. And this one in particular was a book. There it is. It's The Sun Gods by J. Rubin.
Okay.
Wonderful book. Honestly,
inspirational? Was it just suit the mood of your last
fiction, non-fiction, almost?
Okay.
It was weird because it was in sharp contrast to where I was, and I brought this with me to Europe, right? Yet here I am reading about the troubles that this man this man's family actually was going through during World War II on the west coast of the United States. So we're talking Seattle, Japan. So it's these two things, and there's this interconnectivity of love through generations that's just well written and well defined, and it's inspirational almost, actually, because the story is of this guy a generation later, this young man going through to Japan to try and find something that he had lost. And it's finding yourself through travel, I guess, is really the biggest thing here. And I picked this book up, mind you, not knowing that this was the case with this book. So reading that then, especially since I was traveling for the first time on my own to quote unquote try to find myself, it was weirdly on point.
Absolutely. It's actually funny you say that too, because people do travel to find themselves. Mm-hmm. They do. There's that saying, it goes somewhere around the lines of, for those who don't travel, they've only read one page, or something to that effect. I'm not quoting that perfect, but the thing I realized is we try to travel to so many different destinations and we avoid the mirror. But yeah, traveling definitely helps. I just recently went with my fiance to Europe for about 2.5 months, and I have to say everything you told me about Europe came into full color. What a gorgeous place, right? Just amazing. Moving on to the next would be the movie. What movie should I watch?
Ooh. There's a question. I mean, I recently watched Black Panther. Brilliant movie. I'm not really going to recommend it. For me, and anyone who's hung out around me enough is going to roll their eyes when they hear my answer. It's Les Mis.
Les Mis.
Les Mis.
Yes, that has been with you a while.
100%. I love the movie rendition. Just everything about it has been damn near perfect. I mean, the singing is amazingly, like, from the heart almost. You could hear it, right? And a cool thing about it, actually, if you didn't know this, is that when they were filming this, the actors that were singing, they're singing during that filming. This wasn't recorded in the studio. They were singing this as they were acting.
Oh, really? So it's pretty much like a live show we're watching.
Exactly. So Javert, when he's pulling that log and he's singing with that on him. When Marius is looking at his love, he's singing to her, and you feel that. You really feel that. I mean, apart from the theatrics, apart from the fact that it's a revolution, it's a war a war musical. There's a lot of emotion in that I don't think you find in a lot of musicals unless you go to something live. And that was as close to it as possible, and it helps that it's a romance. I mean, I'm a sucker for that thing, and I love it. So you know what? It's probably like my top movie, period. Like,
you shouldn't have shame in that. I'm pretty sure that's won some awards, and it's highly respected. Is that the only version of Les Mis, or is there multiple versions?
No, there's a lot.
Which version should I be watching? That's because I'm going to watch it.
Personally, I mean, just because of that fun fact that I dropped on you there about the singing and how they recorded that, I honestly think the one with Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman, that's the one to watch, right? 100%. But if you get the chance to actually see it live, do that. Do that. I've seen bootlegs of the ones with Lea Salonga in it, a Filipina singer, actually. She sang Epity, and then she sang Anne Hathaway's character in a later showing, and it is wonderful. I would actually give pretty much anything to go see this live. Like, just an actual Broadway rendition. So
that's happening. You're going to do that. That's on the bucket list.
It's on the bucket list.
Okay.
It's a bucket list thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go from a very easy question to maybe a more difficult question. What is the most secret thing you're willing to share?
I honestly, I don't know. There's, a lot of what I would consider, what people would consider, shocking, or, this is the thing that I learned about Arvin. Most of those things aren't really secret, for me, It's things that I openly tell people around me, Like, I openly tell people, yes, I go through depression and I go through depressive episodes a lot. Yes, I have very low self-worth, low self-esteem, and those are things that I tell people outright because I don't think I should hide it. So in a way, I try to make myself as open of a book as possible. And really, I mean, secrets you're toxic. So I guess I'm trying to live my life without that.
I think I just found the line that's always connected us as friends has been that what you just said is exactly how I perceive life. I really don't do the secret thing. I feel like being an open book is such an authentic way to live. I think you just telling everybody that is fantastic because people have to understand that you've done amazing things throughout the darkness that you've gone through. And we don't have to dig into why or where any of this comes from. She knows who it is. But, it's... we know you're working that little heart out of yours, so we'll see what great works you make this year and years to come. What is something you wish people would notice about you?
See, answering this flies in the face of trying to have humility, It flies in the face of not being proud, and I 100% am trying not to be that person, So
of course, this is just something where if you believe there's something you wish people would notice about you, even if it comes off arrogant, not saying it will, but if it does, don't worry about it. Just let it fly. Let it fly.
I honestly think it would be how much I give.
Okay.
Honestly, that's at the core of it. I think that's what it would come down to. And you and I both know this because we've had discussions about previous heartbreaks, dating back years now, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the more I think about it, the more I realize that I've given a lot to those people. I've sacrificed a lot for those people and given literal chunks of my soul to those people to have it paid back in pennies.
Yeah. It's not a direct exchange of energy.
And I don't expect it to be. I think it'd be arrogant to expect that. But I think how things would have played out in a lot of those scenarios and a lot of those heartbreaks would be a lot more different if it wasn't so clouded by, if the other party's decisions weren't clouded by their own needs and their own, selfishnesses.
Right, of course.
Right. And they gave time to think, this is what was given to me. Therefore, should I really be considering doing what I'm doing right now? You know?
Right.
On the flip side of that, though, and this is what I will say, is that I've said this to one girl actually, and I knew it was going to bite me in the ass, but this was pretty much I kind of called it from the beginning. The beginning of my relationship with her is that I told her, we accept the love we think we deserve. You know,
That's deep.
And I think that's pretty much what it becomes, right? It doesn't matter what's given to you at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what I gave to her. It doesn't matter what I've sacrificed. At the end of the day, it becomes her own thing, right? So her own decision. And my input into this has no bearing whatsoever.
Of course.
So the selfish part of me wants to kind of scream like, I gave you so much.
There's nothing wrong with that. It would make sense that you put in the effort and you want to feel that effort reciprocated. And we talked about it earlier. You love the idea of equality. I'm a bit of a cynic with equality. I should probably work on that. But I see so many times in life where the change and the transfer of energy just isn't. It's not there. Mm-hmm. It's like one person does something really major, the other person does something minor, if not at all. Mm-hmm. You can see it in the breakdown of a relationship.
Of course. Yeah.
Somebody at the end of a relationship texts like a novel of emotions, only to get a K or a lol or not even a response, right? And you're like, I just wrote The Great Gatsby for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
for sure. And you know what? It's... I will say this, though. It's... Each time that it happens, each time that for each one of those heartbreaks, let's say, right? And it's not just that. This is in everything, you know. This is in friendships and work. This is in everything.
Sure.
In each one of those times, I think the lesson that the universe or God or whoever is out there, the big dude in the sky, the lesson that I'm trying to be taught here, I think, is very simply, it's not about what you get back. It's not about recognition. It's about doing it for yourself.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I'm trying to work on.
It's a necessary evil of the ego, so to speak. The ego
Definitely
needs to know that what it did was good, right? It's like a dog.
Yeah.
If it does something good, it looks up and it's like, am I getting that treat now? It doesn't make the dog evil. It's just, you know what I mean? It just wants that love for a second. And I mean,
it's
totally
animalistic. It's, it's an instinct. It's a hunger that we have. And I think humanity is to try and transcend that. So that's what we're trying to do. I think that's what all humans are trying to do, really, is go beyond what the dog would do.
At this point in your life, what would you say is one of your greatest achievements?
Having traveled by myself and going to places that I've always wanted to visit, and seeing things that I've always wanted to see. I think that is my greatest achievement. It came as a result of wanting to run away, but what I didn't realize the result really was that I found myself running towards something. So, in the grand scheme of things, I have friends that are getting married. I have friends that are buying houses, starting careers, and those are great achievements.
Sure, all looks good on paper.
Exactly, and really, it's good. It's great for them, but I don't count myself by the same milestones. I'd rather, at this point now, having traveled and having discovered my love for it, I want my greatest achievement when I die is to be the number of countries I've visited, the number of people I've seen, the number of conversations I've had in broken English. That to me is 100% what I am about, and I realize that now. So yeah, my greatest achievement, honestly, is backpacking through Europe.
That is such a major insight that you don't have to buy into the system all the time. You can take a break and just say, I'm going to go travel. You mentioned traveling alone. You didn't say, I traveled with a group. You're like, I did this alone. So I really think traveling alone unlocks a part of your brain that I don't think you can unlock with somebody.
Oh, 100%. And that's the great thing that I found about myself, right? Because really, when you're in a city, in a country that a lot of people, you put up these barriers. You put up barriers, and you put up a face. You put on a mask. This is who I am. I am Arvin, the customer service representative that works here 9 to 5, goes home and does good, right? Or, I'm Arvin, I'm the person who's pursuing this relationship and it's going, okay, it's not the best thing in the world, but I'm okay with it, totally. And those are the masks that I found myself putting on. The thing is, when you're alone and you go travel and you're alone and the only people that you have around you are strangers, you are free to be who you are. And this is one of the things, actually. It's when I was in Amsterdam and I introduced myself to some people. This is my first hostel, the first time I'm staying in a hostel, the first time I'm even introducing myself to strangers by myself without someone beside me. I walk up to these people and they go, hey, my name's Arvin. I'm from Canada. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from here. What do you do in Canada? My answer immediately at that point was, I'm a photographer. It wasn't, I work at Memory Express, because they're not going to fucking know what Memory Express is, They know, I told them outright, I'm a photographer, and it came like that. It wasn't, I do this 9 to 5. It wasn't the answer I gave earlier on.
You didn't say the thing you didn't feel you were. You said the thing you felt you were, right?
Exactly.
Like your heart spoke at that point.
I honestly think, and I truly honestly think that everyone should travel by themselves in a country they have no one in at least once in their life. Because I honestly don't know if I would have figured out who I was without doing that at least once.
I imagine you're going to be doing this a few more times before...
till my bones collapse.
Until you find lady love once again. It's coming. Okay, at this point, what is one of your greatest regrets? Not eating before we started this interview.
Accepting this interview.
No. Accepting this interview.
To be 100% honest, not doing more things with my dad.
Okay.
I mean, I could go the easy route and say, oh yeah, I regret getting into this relationship or that relationship. But that's not it. Honestly, if I don't regret those things. What I do regret is not spending more time with my dad when he was healthier, you know?
Right.
Because he's not right now anyways. So the one thing that actually hits me hardest is back when we were living in Dubai, we were in this area called Al Mansura, and it had a park that was literally right in front of our house. And there's this one time I remember my dad brought me a ball and said, hey, let's go shoot some hoops. I hated that. I fucking hated that idea. Me go out and play basketball in that heat? Fuck no. You know, and I hated it, but I still went, and I was just like, I was complaining the entire time. He was trying to play one-on-one with me, and I didn't feel it. I really didn't want to do that. That wasn't me.
You didn't allow yourself to be open to the experience.
No.
I gotcha.
But my dad is. He's a huge basketball guy, you know. And I kind of regret that, because now I'm like, hey, Dad, let's go shoot some hoops, but he can't, obviously. he's a little bedridden. So there's experiences there that I missed out on because I was too stuck on being me and I wasn't too open. So my biggest regret really would be not really giving it as much of a chance as I should have.
Okay. We're going to keep going. We got a few more questions left here. Are you currently happy, fulfilled, or other?
I'm happy, honestly and truly. Honestly, we go through a lot of phases, obviously, right? It's not, one isn't always happy. You always react to what the world gives you, and right now I am, because I am doing what I like, you know? As I mentioned, we just spent a day basically running through one of the places here in Calgary, for my vlog. I love doing that. I love discovering these places, and I love having a sense of purpose that I'm doing this vlog because I want to get followers, because I want to be able to show these people what I'm seeing and where I'm visiting. I want to build that base up, so when I go to Ireland, I have people to share this with. You know, when I'm doing what I like doing, what I love doing, photography, videography, writing, I am in love with the world. And more and more so, especially this year, I am trying to make that my world, you know, my weekend, this is my week. You know, I don't consider my Monday through Friday as me living, you know, that's me getting through the bullshit to try and get to what I actually want to do.
That's you eating the shit sandwich so you can enjoy the steak dinner.
Exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So honestly, I am happy, because unlike other times in my life, I'm at a place where I have a clear goal in mind, that I'm like, you know what? This day I'm going to go to a cafe, I'm going to write. Or this day I'm going to go to Studio Bell and, you know, do a vlog showcasing the place, you know. Or this day I'm going to go out with Ryan and I'm going to go and, you know, take photographs. You know, in that I am happy.
Yeah, I completely agree. With photography, I've shot everything. Like I don't think there's a subject I haven't ever shot, but I was only ever happy when I got into conceptual portraits, like environmental shots, storytelling shots, and when it was just me taking photos in the early morning by the ocean. Those just got to me, right? Those were the things that made me feel alive with photography, and it was always the act of being a photographer that made me feel alive, just like the act of writing.
Of course, yeah.
I've actually found the amount of times I've even thought, with us just sitting here this very moment, I'm looking at all this gear and I'm realizing that we're actually doing it, and I realize just the act of doing this makes me feel alive and makes me feel better, you know? So
definitely.
I get it. So keep busy, right?
Definitely.
What advice would you give your younger self at this point? Now, you're not old, so the advice, you know, I don't expect it to be, you know, awe-inspiring, but hey, what advice would you give your younger self?
Slow down. Honestly, I think that would be it. It's slow down, because I think in the great pursuit to try and get to that point where you're married or get to that point where you're buying a house, I didn't really spend enough time working on myself. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, the time, it's only been in the last 3, maybe 4 years that I've really centered in on myself and goes, this is what I want to do. This is me,
I've really been trying to get you to do that.
And you're right though, because I did have people like you, like my friends, who in their own ways push me towards trying to figure out myself. But I was rushing to do things that I guess were expected of me. But now that I've kind of come to the point, I don't know if it's because I've just stopped giving a fuck, but now I'm at that point where I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do today. This is what I want to pursue for the next 2 years. This is where I want to be in the next 5. I know that now only because I took the time to sit down and go, you know what? You're not doing too well. You are sad and you have nowhere you're going in life right now. What do you want to do? When you sit down and actually look at that.
So when you meditate on what you're supposed to be doing, it kind of comes into focus a lot easier than trying to fill your days with what you think you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really fast. I mean, that's a fast way to chew up your life, is by filling your days with a million things you feel you need to do, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that. Starting, you actually mentioned this before, but I do want to hear it, because it is my final question. I think it is. Starting with the saying "I am" and "I am" being the two most powerful words in the English language that I've at least come to understand. What would you say right after these two words?
I am the travel journalist that's going to show you the world.